Hello and welcome to One More Pen, and it's that time of the month where I do the pens that I've been using for the month, my daily writers. This month I've been using 10 different pens. Some of them came with from the previous month, and I've been using them for a while, and I'm thinking if they run out of ink, then I think I'll clean them out and I'll change them out. I think it's time for some new pens. But I've got a really great selection, and let's just get into it, take a closer look at the pens. I'll, as always, do a quick writing sample with each one of them, and you can see the kinds of inks that I've been using. With these pens, this is the fun part for me, is matching different inks to different pens, and where I can also swapping out some nibs and just enjoying the combination of inks and pens. All right, let's take a closer look. So these are the pens that I've been using during the month of May. From left to right, we have a Kaweco Sport, Janow 80, Sheaffer 100 Coffee Edition. This is a Janow 992, I believe, translucent version. Lami Studio. This is a Sailor 1911 Young. Parker Frontier. Sheaffer 330 quasi-imperial model, apparently. This is the Euro 329, and another Kaweco Sport from the one of the collection editions. So let's take a look at each one of them, and I'll do a writing sample and show you the inks that I've been using. And on to the writing sample. So I'll be using my Rhodia dot pad as usual. Really excellent paper to use, and we start off with my Kaweco Sport. Now these are little pocket pens, so ideally you need to post them. You can use them unposted, but probably better posted because it just provides the full length pen, and it's just a lot more comfortable that way. So Kaweco Sport, and this one has a broad nib. Wetness is fairly decent, and the ink that I have been using in this one would be Waterman, and I'm not sure, is it Waterman Intensity Blue or Royal Blue? I can't remember, but it is a pretty standard Waterman blue ink. It is a lovely ink to use, very safe. It's an ink that goes with any pen, and yeah, just really nice. All right, let's put that one aside. Next up, we have the Janow 80. This is essentially a copy of the Lami 2000. Right, and what I've been using on this pen actually is a Lami Safari 1.1 stub nib. So it's a combination that I think works fairly well, and you could probably hear some wind noise in the background. It's a pity, but where I am, we are called the Windy City for a reason, so it's something we just have to live with. So Janow, handwriting is not so great. Janow 80, and let's say this is a Lami 1.1 nib. Wetness is very nice. The ink that I've been using actually is Parker Quink Black. Now with these stub nibs, you won't get flecks out of them, but you don't need to. That's exactly why it's a stub nib, so you get that effect. And Parker Quink is a lovely ink. I mean, for how basic it is, I still just enjoy using it. It's safe, it just works. Next up, my Sheaffer 100 Coffee Edition. I really love this pen. I have a black and chrome trim Sheaffer 100, and I mean the nibs are pretty consistent, they write the same, but this is just another level of beautiful, I think. So here we have Sheaffer 100 Coffee Edition. My handwriting today is horrible, and it's partly because of the angle that I'm trying to write so that I don't blur the focus. Wetness, plenty wet, very, very nice. The ink, Diamine Walnut, and this is from one of the Inkvent collections. Not sure now which year, but it's the purple one. Right, lovely pen. Next up we have the Janow 992. On this pen, it's got a gold trim, but not a sort of a light gold trim. I think very nice. On the center band it just says Janow, and unfortunately no model number. I had to actually go and look this up because I couldn't remember what the model number was. You can post this pen, and you probably should, because if you don't post it, it's a little on the small side. So posting it, and it posts quite well, but yeah, it's probably a good idea. So here we have Janow 992, and this is a fine nib, which actually surprises me because that does not feel at all like a fine nib. Wetness, as you can see, is pretty good, and I have to say, for a fine nib, it's a little on the thick side for a fine nib, and it is very smooth. Very smooth. I'm not even going to bother with trying to get line variation out of that. The ink that I'm using is one of my favorite inks, and it's simply Diamine Green Black. This is an ink that is very lubricated. The pen the ink flow is fairly good, but you do need to keep a tiny bit of pressure for the ink flow to work. If you let off the pressure, then you get a very light line, and it almost feels like it wants to skip a bit, but it doesn't. For the price of this pen, I can't remember what I paid for it, but it was really cheap, and it's actually quite a nice pen. It looks very plasticky, it's very, very light, but it feels quite sturdy, it feels very good quality. It doesn't feel cheap at all, and I'm using a converter here, which works very, very well. So another example of a cheap Janow pen, but really good quality. Next up, we have the Lami Studio, and this, I think this was also a special edition. It's I think an olive green, and these are of course very lovely pens. They post very well, actually click into post, and of course the section on these ones are sort of chrome trim, and you might think that it's slippery and uncomfortable, but they actually grip pretty well. I actually haven't had an issue with them. I was worried that, you know, my fingers would get sweaty and it would become slippery, but no, that's not a problem at all. So what we have here is Lami Studio, and the nib that I have today is a 1.1 stub. Ink flow is fairly decent, and this is as you can see, this is not a dark ink, this is quite a light ink. This is a very smooth nib for a 1.1 stub. If I have to compare this with the the 1.1 Lami nib that I have on the Janow 80, this nib is actually a little bit scratchy, but the one that I have here on the Studio is very, very smooth. It's one of the things about the Lami nibs that annoy me a little bit is they can be inconsistent. You can buy 2 or 3 nibs, or 2 or 3 same nibs, and they can write very differently. So that's not great. The ink that I'm using, the Roshizuku Chikurin. And I have to say, please apologize, the handwriting today, it is horrific. But it's just lovely shading on this ink. I've used it in quite a few different pens, and it just works no matter where you use it. So next up, I have the Sailor 1911 Young. This is a beautiful pen, gold trim, but I like the simplicity of it. Nothing fancy or too fancy. I think it's pretty fancy as it is actually. Made in Japan, and Sailor on the center band. Really beautiful. I think it's elegant in a sort of understated way. How does it write? Let's have a closer look. So this pen, Sailor 1911 Young, it has a broad nib. This is a broad nib. Very nice and juicy and wet, as you can see. You may be able to hear the feedback on the nib. I can tell you it's very, very pleasant feedback. Now when I bought this pen, it was really scratchy and dry. It was practically unusable. I sent it back. They did some tuning on the nib, and I think they polished it a bit. Came back, and it is just a joy to write with. Such a, I think, high quality pen, and I didn't pay that much for it. I can't remember exactly what I paid, but it could be around the, I would be guessing around the $50 mark. Yeah, I think probably around there. The ink on this one, for some reason, I am using a lot of Parker Quink this month. Parker Quink Black. Just a well-behaved ink. Just cannot go wrong with it. If I had to go without ever using another ink, if I could only use one ink ever, as boring as it sounds, it would probably be Parker Quink Black, because it works everywhere. Any situation I can think of, this would be a great ink. Next up, we have the Parker Frontier. I wish I could get more of these. I have this one in a gold color, and I would have loved to have this in just plain silver or brushed steel, something like that. I'm not crazy about the gold, but it was either this or a matte black. And with a matte black, I wasn't sure what the texture would be like. Sometimes you get a matte black and it's a kind of a coating that with use, especially from the oils of your fingers, it can get sticky over time. And I just wasn't sure because I couldn't see the pen. It was available online, and I had to make a quick decision. So because this was metal, I went with it. It's still pretty beautiful, nothing wrong with it. And this is in a fine nib. So this is a Parker Frontier. And here I think you can see that this really looks like a fine as well. Wetness is not bad at all. I'm not going to push for line variation, but you certainly get I guess at least a little bit more. Yes, I do think it's a thicker line and a little bit more ink flow as well. Creates a darker line, so that's pretty nice. The ink, you can probably tell I'm using a lot of diamine inks, and just really great inks. Sargasso Sea. This is a lovely ink. The one thing about this ink, it's not an ink that cleans out very easily. I think it's a very saturated and lubricated ink, and for that reason it works very well in nibs that are high on the feedback, almost tend to be a little scratchy, and it really works well in those pens. But cleaning this out takes quite a bit more work than any of my other inks. If I had to compare cleaning out Sargasso Sea, for example, compared to Parker Quink Washable Blue, they don't even compare. Washable Blue, you know, I rinse a pen once. This will take me a while. This is a lot of work. Next up we have my Sheaffer 330. Only recently got this pen. It's one of my Grail pens. I had one growing up and I really wanted another one. On the center we can see, probably not easy on the camera, but Sheaffer, made in USA. I still haven't even removed the sticker there. I haven't been doing a lot of writing with this pen. I have a feeling this is a pen that's probably going to be not an everyday writer, but I'll use it on special occasions. So, Sheaffer 330. And as you can probably tell, this is a extra fine nib. It looks plenty wet for how fine it really is. Line variation, I don't want to try to get line variation out of this nib. Maybe just a tiny little bit of pressure, but no, as you can see, interesting nib that's slightly curved upwards, but I'm told that is very normal for this kind of pen. And the ink, what else would I be using than Sheaffer Black? This is a lovely ink. All the Sheaffer inks are really great to use. This extra fine is, it borders on scratchy, and but I do think most extra fine pens probably would. I mean, the finer you go, the more feedback you tend to get, and this pen, this is really fine, but with absolute minimal pressure it writes so well. It produces a lovely fine line. I'm not crazy about fine nibs. I have quite a few, and they can be really good pens, but I tend to write more with the broader nibs, good mediums, broad and stub nibs. But this is good to have in my collection, and like I said, this is probably something I'll use on special occasions. Next up we have the Hero, and this pen, it's the 329. I'm not even sure if, because this pen tends to make a mess. I'm not sure if it's going to not have leaked into the cap, perhaps. Because it has recently. So if we have a look, no, it's clean. The other day when I uncapped it, it just had ink all over, and I had to clean it out. And these pens have a tendency, I've got 3 of them, and all 3 of them do the same thing. I mean, I use my pens on my desk. I don't even carry these around. I'll just leave them lying there, and then one day I'll open them up and it's ink everywhere. And even when I write with them, they tend to just burp ink. Having said that, I do enjoy these pens. They are lovely. This is the Hero 239. No, 329. Excuse me. I'm starting to mix up my numbers, and they come, I think, only in a fine, as far as I know. wetness is, it's decent. It's decent. This nib is quite smooth for a fine. It's a lovely writer. I do like these pens. I mean, this is very light plastic. You can feel it's not a very expensive pen, but they are so comfortable to hold. They are, as far as I'm concerned, for my use, it's the perfect shape. I love everything about these pens. It's just the tendency to mess ink that's a problem for me, and it means I can't carry them around, because I would be carrying these a lot if they were, you know, more reliable. The ink that I'm using, now I have to think for a second. This is Diamine Cardinal, I believe, and I think this is also from an Inkfriend collection. Well, as you can see, it's got lovely ink flow. It writes like a dream. You can see there you go. It's missing ink. That is the problem. Otherwise, like I said, I'd be using these pens all the time, because they are actually lovely writers. And you can actually see it just made an ink bubble and it burst. So now it must have something to do with these. What are these sort of, what do we call them? It's a converter, but the squeezy type converter. So I'm sure this must be the cause of the problem, and I don't know if they are removable. No, this is not removable, and it's a pity. If I could replace this with a normal cartridge, that would probably solve this problem. So I'm pretty sure this is, with the pressure in this converter, is probably where the problem lies. Anyway, it's a pity, but still, these pens are quite cheap and they still write well. And despite the fact that they make a mess, as you can see, I still use them. They are just lovely. And then last up, we have another Kaweco Sport. This is from one of the collections. I think it's also called Olive Green. Gold trim on this one. Really lovely looking pen. So we have Kaweco Sport in a broad nib. No, it's okay. Not plenty wet, but for a broad nib I would expect a little bit more perhaps, but not bad. Now, why would you want to get more line variation out of a pen like this? I don't know. So, but for the broad nib, it lays down a good amount of ink. The ink that I'm using, Pelikan 4001. I'm not sure if that is called a royal blue or majestic blue or something like that. I just can't remember, but it is a pretty standard blue, and that is exactly what it is. It's very reliable. It's a lovely ink, a little bit on the dry side. If I compare this Kaweco with the other one, which is also a broad nib where I use the Waterman is a little bit more of a wetter ink, a more juicy ink, but both inks look really good and they perform perfectly. So these are my pens for the month of May. So this month I had 10 pens in rotation. Normally I have less than that, usually around 6 pens, but sometimes it's just so much fun inking up more pens, and I try not to even fully ink my pens because I tend to want to rotate them sooner, because I just enjoy using different ones. So I don't even necessarily want to use a full cartridge on some of them. There are of course those like the Sheaffer Coffee Edition that I've just been using for 2 months now since I got it. It's just lovely, and I think the Lami Studio also has been in rotation for a while. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching, And I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I appreciate if you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.